Hey everyone, my name is Sean Caspian, and this is my first vlog for Geek and Sundry. In this vlog series, I'll be taking a look at the history of some of the most iconic things in the geek world. So first off, a little bit about myself. I've pretty much been a geek my entire life. From being a gamer as far back as the Atari, to going to the store and buying little magic packs and opening them up just hoping and praying that the one special card I was looking for was in there. Now I do this stuff full time. So for our first stroll down the history of geekery, I'm going to talk today about the NES. That is the Nintendo Entertainment System. The NES was originally introduced in Japan as the Famicom in 1983, then made its way over to the States in 1985 for distribution across the country. Now, when the Nintendo was originally released, it was met with a lot of skepticism. That's because of the great video game crash of 1983. That whole thing happened because, frankly, video games just weren't that good back in the early 80s. Consumers lost confidence lost consumers, and nobody was buying any video games. Now, the Nintendo box that actually shipped in the States looks nothing like the Famicom that was released in Japan. That's because Nintendo wanted the box to look a lot more like an appliance or a computer instead of a gaming console because nobody trusted games at the time. Once Nintendo sealed their distribution deals, they dominated the US. Super Mario Bros. Alone, the original for NES, brought in over $500 million in the United States. That's a lot of cash, especially if you're talking about the 80s. Now with success, of course, comes a little bit of healthy competition. Though there were a few others at the time, Sega was the first real competitor to challenge Nintendo's seat as king. Sega released the almighty 16-bit powerhouse called the Sega Genesis. This lit a fire under Nintendo's ass and forced them to develop their next generation console, the Super Nintendo, thus igniting the first ever true console war. Though Nintendo continued to develop for the NES alongside the Super Nintendo, it did mark the eventual decline of the system. By 1995, development for the NES was officially shut down. And now a couple of fun facts about the Nintendo Entertainment System and some of its games. The very first D-pad was created for the NES. That classic green suit that is trademark of Luigi, he only wears that because the developers couldn't use any other color in the system except the green that was already used for the turtles there. The cartridges just didn't have any room. Kirby has never been a popular character in the United States, but he would have been much less popular if they used his original name, Tinkle Popo. Sounds like a Teletubby. The character Samus from the popular Metroid series has always had a beauty mark on her lower left chin. We've just never been able to see it because the games weren't powerful enough to show it to us. That's it for today's episode of History of Geekery. Tune in next time when we cover the history of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just gonna dance it out a little bit. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out!